Alyssa Thomas couldn't touch Caitlin Clark because Clark was sitting on the bench in street clothes. So, she went after her best friend instead. Elbow to the face, and Lexie music. Hull goes flying. Thomas laughed on camera, while Lexie was still holding her nose. Her own crowd in Phoenix saw the replay and booed her. And we're going to show you exactly what happened second by music second, and how the Fever made her pay for it before the night was over. The Indiana Fever enforcers destroyed and served instant karma to Alyssa Thomas. What should the WNBA do to Alyssa Thomas? Drop a comment down below. At least for the time being, we'll head to the bench. You got to be ready to rebound right here. You got to box out. Jason has checked in for her. Lexie Hull drops to the floor, holding her face, blood already coming from her nose. And the whistle never blows. No foul, no stoppage, just Hull on the hardwood while the play keeps moving around her like nothing happened. Let's talk about how this actually went down. Hull went to contest Thomas's shot near the basket and plays straight-up defense. Then Alyssa Thomas puts the ball and her arms down, then brings them up for a shot and comes across to drive an elbow straight into Hull's face. This wasn't a box-out gone wrong or two players tangled up fighting for position. Hull had no reason to expect contact because she was playing honest defense. Music, and that's exactly what makes this so hard to explain away as basketball plays. Music. It way to Cunningham and Hull dashes in on a three. Boston hits a three. Now watch music, the replay, because this is where it gets interesting. Frame by frame, you can see Thomas's elbow isn't down at her side, music, or tucked in like she's winding up for a shot. It's up, it's out, and it's pointed right at Hull's head. That's not an arm swinging through traffic. That's a strike. And the broadcast camera catches every bit of it in a way the referees on the floor apparently missed. Here's the part that turns this from a bad no-call music into something worse. While Hull is still down, still holding her face, Thomas smiles. Then she laughs. Caught clean on camera. No question about what her face is doing in that moment. You don't smile after an accident. Music. You smile when you know exactly what you did and you're not sorry about it. Alyssa Thomas laughs after nearly breaking Lexie Hull's nose. Music. So, the officials watching live somehow missed all of this. No foul, no free throws, no review. But everyone at home watching the broadcast saw the music replay in slow motion, saw the elbow, saw the laugh, and saw a player who got away with it in real music time. Even though the tape made it obvious, that gap between what the refs called and what the camera showed is exactly why fans are furious. And this isn't the first time. Go back to June 24th when Thomas caught Caitlin Clark with a shot to the throat and a knee to the groin in the same game. A play that got upgraded to a flagrant 2 after the league reviewed it later. Same story. Contact way worse than what got called live. Only fixed after the fact once someone actually looked at the tape. 2 different games, 2 different targets. Same pattern of Thomas doing damage and the officials needing a replay to catch up, streaking to the basket. And here's what hustle players are all about. You got 3 Phoenix players around Caitlin Clark. And yeah, it's fizz to the ground. And ooh, that's a hand to the neck. And then Alyssa Thomas steps over. See, that's the kind of stuff that can incite some future trouble. Clark set this game out moo. Sick, resting her body, watching from the bench, in street clothes. So Thomas couldn't get to her directly this time. Instead, she went after the next closest thing. Clark's close friend on the roster, the player Clark trusts and plays alongside every night. You don't have to guess why Hull became the target when the real target wasn't on the floor to hit. Before any of this happened, Stephanie White was already calling out the officiating in her pre-game comments, music pointing at a double standard in how these games get called against her team. Turns out she was right before the ball even went up. And here's the payoff. Phoenix put the replay up on their own Jumbotron in their own building for their own fans. And those fans booed. Not Fever fans on the road. Phoenix fans booing their own player because even the music could see what Thomas did was dirty. When your home crowd turns on you like that, there's no spin left to put on it. The Fever weren't about to let that sit once the ball went back live. At least for the time being, we'll head to the bench. You got to be ready to rebound right here. You got to box out. Music. Down 10 in the third quarter, and Phoenix Music is starting to pull away like they've got this one figured out. No Clark in uniform on the bench, just street clothes and a clipboard's worth of confidence from a coaching staff hoping their bench can find something. This is also the second night of a back-to-back. So Indiana's legs are tired from travel and from playing minutes without music, their best player to lean on when things get hard. Boston Cunningham. Boston hits a three. Cheering. That's what you call a boomerang pass. Pass it right back. Picture this. Phoenix hitting shots, Indiana chasing the game, and the deficit music growing every time down the floor. That's when the Fever flip a switch and rattle off a 13-0 run that turns music the whole third quarter inside out. The defense tightens up first, forcing bad shots and getting stops that hadn't been there minutes earlier. And once the stops start coming, the offense finds easy buckets in transition instead of grinding against a set defense. That's the run that turns a blowout into a game, music again. And Phoenix never fully recovers the cushion they had. Cutting Bonner lost the handle. Mitchell right on the money to Cunningham. So a little 6-0 response for Indiana, and that 10-point lead is down to 4 as the F are able to pick up the pace in a row. The fourth quarter turns into exactly the music kind of game nobody wants to watch if their heart can't take it. Every basket gets answered right back. Music. Phoenix scores, Indiana scores. Neither team able to build a lead worth feeling good about. Lead changes stack up possession after possession, and both benches are standing for most of it, because sitting down starts to feel impossible. Ty Harris becomes the engine. Nobody outside the building expected to matter this much. She scores 9 points in the fourth quarter alone, drilling a three with 3 minutes left that hands Indiana the lead. Then coming back to score again with 44 seconds on the clock to put them back in front after Phoenix answers. Harris finishes the night with 15 points and 5 assists, running the offense like she's been doing it all season instead of stepping into a bigger role, because her team needed her to. And a huge moment. There have been a couple of these here in the four. Got to keep your composure right here. Got to execute. Shot clock at 10. Harris is an AC. Couple big shots tonight. Harris, 2 more. Couple tough whistles and a couple tougher shots. That's how you handle adversity. Winning like this, without Clark, carries its own weight. This is a full Phoenix roster, healthy and rested against an Indiana team missing its best scorer and playmaker. And somehow the Fever still find a way to grind it out. That says everything about what this roster actually has when you strip away the headline name and just watch who's left on the floor competing. Aaliyah Boston returns from missing the music previous game, and her presence changes the whole shape of the night. She finishes with 21 points and 9 rebounds, hitting 3 of 5 from three-point range, showing off a jump shot that wasn't part of her game as much last season. Boston in the lineup means Indiana has size and scoring inside again, something they didn't have the game before, and it shows up in every possession, where Phoenix has no answer for her in the post. Teams do coming off of losses. Indiana Fever played last night against the Spartans and lost that one. Aaliyah not finding Cunningham, who will drive kick out. They move it over to Leah Boston, a much improved three-point shooter. And she hears your combo. Boston and Mitchell. Boston and Alyssa Thomas. How about that matchup? Boston for the most in WNBA history. I should have been rooting for that to go out. Is that what you're saying? She's getting some time right now in the third quarter, off the bench, as Boston gets a good look at it. Every possession down the stretch turns into a decision that could end the comeback right there. A bad pass, a rush shot, a blown rotation on defense. Any one of those hands the game back to Phoenix with the clock running out. But Indiana doesn't blink, playing possession after possession like they've already decided how this game ends. Kelsey Mitchell's layup with 10.1 seconds left puts Indiana ahead for good, capping a stretch where neither team could pull away and turning every possession before it into a setup for that one shot. Sophie Cunningham closes it out at the free throw line right after. But that's a story for its own moment. Because as wild as that fourth quarter got, the real fight all night long happened in the paint, where Aaliyah Boston was busy making Alyssa Thomas look like she didn't belong on the same floor. Cheering. Beverus Cunningham gives it to her. Cheering. Picture this. Aaliyah Boston catching the ball on the block, feeling Alyssa Thomas leaning on her, and just going to work like Thomas isn't even there. Once, twice, 3 times down the stretch, music Boston backs her down in the post, and Thomas has no answer for it. This isn't one lucky bucket. It's a pattern that repeats music, it's self-possession after possession. And by the 3rd or 4th time it happens, you can see Thomas start looking over at her bench like someone should help her out. Thomas isn't some scrub defender. Music. She's one of Phoenix's best two-way players. Someone who guards the toughest matchup on the other team almost every night and usually hold her own. So, when Boston shuts her down in the post, that's not a small thing. That's Indiana's center taking away the one thing Music Thomas is supposed to be great at, and doing it in front of a home crowd that came to watch Thomas dominate, not get dominated. Has talked about her being our linebacker and our communicator defensively. More than happy to get her back for several reasons. And then to Boston back this way from Thomas on that. Boston lets it fly, and the Beavers back on top. Both teams for different reasons. You know, Phoenix 6 games under 500 is trying to Boston position against Thomas. Boston finds it and finishes it. Shot clock still in play, giving Boston right away against Thomas, and turns the other way. Aaliyah Boston cool, calm, and collected. The possessions themselves are simple and brutal. Boston catches deep position on the block, feels Thomas trying to push her out, and instead of backing down, she goes straight up and over her for a clean finish at the rim. No fadeaways, no tricky footwork needed. Just straight strength and touch over and over until Thomas starts fouling out of frustration instead of playing defense. Then Boston does something nobody expected from a post player matched up against someone Thomas's size. She steps out to the three-point line, catches the ball, and shoots it right in Thomas's face without a second of hesitation. The shot goes in clean, and for a second, the whole building goes quiet because that's not supposed to happen. Post players who just spend the whole game bullying you inside aren't supposed to step back and hit threes over you too. Music. Boston doesn't just make the shot and jog back. She celebrates right in front of Thomas, right in her face, letting her know exactly what just happened. And given that Thomas elbowed Lexie Hull earlier in this same game and laughed about it, watching Boston get her moment right in Thomas's space, it's different. It's not extra, it's earned. And everyone watching knows exactly why Boston isn't holding back on the celebration. By the final buzzer, Music Boston's stat line reads 21 points and 9 rebounds, shooting the ball well from deep while also guarding Thomas defensively for most of the night. That's a two-way effort most players don't turn in even when they're only doing one of those jobs. Music and Boston did both against one of the best forwards in the league. Cunningham, the line shooting too. Cheering, cheering, cheering. Applause. Sophie Cunningham has her own job to finish. Once Boston sets the tone, she steps in with 9 points. And when the game is on the line in the final minute, she's the one at the free throw line knocking down the shots that seal it. Cunningham doesn't rattle in that moment. She just calmly buries free throw after free throw, while Phoenix has no choice but to watch the clock run out. After one of those makes, Cunningham turns to the crowd and does her pointing celebration again. The one fans have started waiting for every single time she hits a big shot. And here's the part that says everything about this night. Cunningham used to play for Phoenix. She still lives there in the off-season, and this is Phoenix's own arena. Yet, the crowd cheers for her anyway, while Alyssa Thomas gets booed in her own building. That's not a road crowd turning on the home team. That's a home crowd choosing a visitor over their own player. And, they just came back with a vengeance, an absolute vengeance. And play after play after play late in the game. 10 seconds left, and the music game still isn't decided. Phoenix and Indiana have been trading punches all fourth quarter, and now it comes down to one final possession that either seals the win or hands Phoenix new life. Kelsey Mitchell's night builds slow and steady before it turns into the moment everyone remembers. She's been scoring all game, picking her spots, hitting pull-up jumpers, and finishing at the rim whenever Phoenix leaves even music, a sliver of space open. By the time the fourth quarter rolls around, She's already put together the kind of night that wins games on its own. And she's not done yet. Cheering, screaming, cheering.